Are you an angry mom? Are you the yeller? Are you the one who gets physical when things get frustrating? I never thought I was going to be an angry mom, and yet here I am. Are you overwhelmed by motherhood and barely keeping your head above water? Are you confused and frustrated by how all the other moms make it look so easy? You can't figure out how to manage the chaos in your mind, your home, or your family. I get you, mama. Parenting with ADHD is hard. Here is your permission slip to let go of the Pinterest-worthy visions of organization and structure fit for everyone else. Let's do life like our brains do life, creatively, lovingly, and with all our might. When we embrace who we are and how our brains work, we can figure out how to live our lives successfully and, in turn, lead our families well. At the end of the day, we just want to be good moms. But, spoiler alert, you are already a great mom. ADHD does not mean you're doomed to be a hot mess, mama. You can rewrite your story from shame spiral to success story. And I'll be right here beside you to cheer you on. Welcome to Motherhood in ADHD. Confession time. I always thought I was going to be an excellent mom. I thought I was going to be like Pinterest-worthy, A+ excellent role model of all the moms because I was a teacher. I know how to deal with kids. I was the oldest of 5, had a lot of practice. And generally speaking, I'm a pretty patient person. Like, it takes a lot to get me riled up as a general rule, except by my family. Like, they have the buttons on speed dial. They just know how to irk me. And I don't even think it's that they know how to irk me. It's that what they do irks me more than other people. Like, I am so patient with my students. I am so patient with my friends. I'm so patient with so many people. And yet the people who are in my house are the ones that I am not patient with. And I never thought I would be here. I thought I was going to be an excellent mom. I had all of the credentials. I had all the practice. And then here we are in real life, and it's way harder than I thought it was going to be. The level of stress that we carry as parents is so much higher than pre-parenting life. Anytime you are a caretaker for someone, and this includes elderly parents or anyone who you are caretaking for, when you are fully responsible for somebody else's well-being, that level of stress and responsibility is hard to describe. It is hard to explain to other people. I think that's why they don't tell you that before becoming a mom. Because how do you explain being responsible for someone's life? There are a few other jobs that have that level of gravity, and even still, those are jobs. You get to leave. The moment where I knew that this was a problem and I needed to do something about it, I think my son was probably about 2, maybe 3 years old. And he was so upset. You could see the glazed over look in his eye where it's he's not even really there. He was just so mad. And I was in a power struggle of no, you're going to do it my way. Insistent, I'm the grown up and I'm going to do it my way. And he was so mad. He tried to stomp on my feet. And this was a couple days after I had had ingrown toenail surgery. Apologies, I know it's gross. And so my feet hurt so bad. And he was so mad. He knew all the last couple days I'd be no, watch out for mama's feet, watch out for mama's feet. And he knew that was the place where I was hurt. And he tried to stomp and hit my feet. And that was that moment where it was the first time that I was truly scared of my child. And knowing that he could really hurt me. I'm looking at my sweet baby who's barely older than a toddler preschooler and being I am responsible for this ball of fire that is trying to hurt me. And I don't know what to do. It was this moment of panic and being scared and sad and mad. It was all the feelings of I didn't know what to do. I couldn't help my baby because he was also trying to attack me. I didn't know what to do. And that was that wake up call of being I can't keep doing this. I'm over here yelling and trying to get him to do something that he doesn't want to do. Honestly, I don't even remember what it was about. Granted, it was many years ago, but I don't even remember what it was about. But that moment of recognition and being me yelling and me stomping my feet isn't actually solving anything. And it's actually going to get me really injured because those toes sure did hurt. I promise you that. Like realizing like I was totally out of control in the situation, but also like within myself. My level of anger was so big and his level of anger was so big. And I was like, how am I supposed to teach him how to deal with this anger when clearly I'm not dealing with my anger? And that was the moment where I realized like, this is not okay. I got to do something about this. And as always, I'd love to tell you to be like, and then I solved it all. No, it still took me several years of work to get to the point where I could control my anger. There are times where I still yell at my kids, but I know that I am doing so much better than I was. And that's the reason I'm talking about this today, is because I want you to know that if you are an angry mom, like I am an angry mom, that you can learn the skills to deal with your anger and then in turn teach your kids how to deal with their anger. So when I talk to you about being angry as someone with ADHD or having a bad temper or having like a full-on grown-up meltdown, like I come by this advice, honestly. I have had to do so much work and I am not perfect. I still get frustrated. I still yell. But I think about how many times I stop myself from yelling and I stop myself from losing my cool. And I think, oh my goodness, I can't imagine if I had not done all this work to be the kind of person that I am now. For sure, I should be saving for a therapy fund over a college fund at this point. Like, being a parent is hard. So when we think about anger, first I want to say, like, being angry is not a bad thing, always. Like, anger is a basic emotion. So there's 6 basic emotions that are, like, just generally accepted as being anger, disgust, fear, happiness, sadness, and surprise. Now, if you have watched the movie Inside Out, hello, adorable. Like, we see these emotions play out. These are the emotions that seem more like automatic. They're the ones that we have at a younger age. It's easy to associate them with certain facial expressions or like body movement. Like, there are a whole bunch more emotions that are complex and involve like mixes of these. Again, Inside Out too. But anger is one of the basic emotions. And so having anger isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like, being angry in and of itself is like a neutral thing. And this is something that I wish more people understood about feelings. Like, feelings are not bad. Feelings are telling you, they are communicating something to you so that you can do something with it. And there's definitely good anger. Good anger fuels a lot of grassroots organizations and people getting stuff done. Being angry is not necessarily a bad thing. But in that, emotions are a way to communicate information to us. Like, we have to know what to do with that information once we get it. So when we become angry, that's our body telling us something. And what are we going to do with that information? Generally speaking, people with ADHD tend to have more sensitive nervous systems, are more aware of what's going on around them, can be influenced or like notice things that are different more easily. And I'm not going to get on my tangent of like trauma response and all that, because this is a really complex topic and I don't want to have a 7-hour episode. Like, my main goal here is for you to know you're not alone and that there are things you can do with that and that you don't have to stay in a place where you're like, I don't want to be angry mom anymore. Spoiler alert, you don't have to stay there. We'll talk about that in a bit. But like, this is my main goal here, is for you to know, like, being angry by itself is not bad. Emotions are really good. They give you the information to be able to do something about whatever's happening. But like, what are we going to do with that information? And going back to what I started on, I got off on a tangent, is that when we have ADHD, because we tend to have a more sensitive nervous system, we can get angry more easily, I guess would be how I want to word it. That the different inputs coming in can cause reactions that feel more out of proportion with what's going on. And I talk about this extensively when I am teaching and coaching. But like, when we are angry, and when we're feeling any emotion, honestly, like, a lot of times it feels like, oh, wow, that was a really blown out of proportion reaction. But here's the thing. That is because you did not notice all the stuff that was happening earlier. I won't get on that soapbox either. But like, if we talk about like, you know, people are saying, oh, like, he just went from 0 to 100. He was fine. And then all of a sudden my kid was, you know, losing their mind. They weren't fine before that. Like, something was happening throughout the day that got them all the way to 99. And you saw the one thing that went from 99 to 100. And so you're looking at that tiny thing that only jumped the needle 1 point. I mean, it's not even like a jump because it's only 1 point. The thing that moved the needle, just that 1 point to hit 100 and have the explosion. But something happened, or many things happened up until that point that got to 99. So when we are very stressed, you might have started the day at a 30 or a 40 or a 50. If your kid had a rough day at school, they may have walked in the door at 87. And so you've only got 13 points to play with before the explosion happens. And this is what stress does to us, is pushes us to the point where we don't have a lot of capacity left over to deal with whatever is coming next. Because all day long, it could be that itchy sweater that's annoying you. It could be that your, sister-in-law gave your son a whistle and you've been listening to this stupid whistle all day. It could be that you're worried about serious things like bills, somebody being sick, and like things that actually have weight that also, like, all those things play into us being stressed. So we don't start the day anew at level 0, depending on how you slept. You got a newborn, you're sick, you have a chronic illness. All of these things are taking away our capacity so that we get to 100 so much faster than what we wished we were. Like, than what we wish would happen. Like, we want to have more capacity, but we didn't. And that's how we got to this point where anger has taken over. And anger can also be a learned response from family patterns, especially if you have a lot of undiagnosed ADHD people in your family, because you probably do. Like, all of these things come into play and give us less capacity to stay in a place of peace and calm. And again, control's not the word I want to use, but like, to be able to deal with this information incoming. Because anger can be that crazy big, bonkers meltdown, explosion, tantrum, whatever you're labeling it as, but it also can just be really irritating, really frustrating. That also is anger showing up. And when it comes to people with ADHD, sometimes that anger, when it builds up to get to 100, sometimes the way it comes out of us is an internal hurt. It makes me think of like teens who are cutting, that they're taking that, I don't know how to deal with this pain or anger, and I'm taking it out on myself. Or it can come out as an external way to be coming out onto others. And that's when we're yelling at our family or getting into like a physical altercation with our teen. Like, that is that anger getting to the point where like, I don't have capacity to deal with this anymore. And it is coming out of me in a way that I don't want. I want to choose something different. So I want you to know that like all of these things going into the anger, into that angry feeling, it's like the overstimulation, the emotional dysregulation, overwhelm, not sleeping enough, having sickness or a lot of responsibility or anxiety, like all these things are playing into the anger. And there will be some point where you can't carry it all by yourself. Anxiety can be debilitating. And oftentimes it's obvious. Stage fright, heights, claustrophobia, panic attacks. But anxiety can also be subtle. When you can't fall asleep at night, thinking about your sick parent or your teen who's struggling making friends. It can be helicoptering around your toddler at the playground, or not listening to your partner because you're in your mind spiraling about your kid's school struggles. People with ADHD can hyperfocus on these worries to the point where your worry takes center stage. But what you really want to be is present in the moment, more carefree, feeling lighter, having that space and the freedom to be the fun mom that you thought you would be. If you're ready to feel more relaxed and calm every day, join me in my upcoming event, the ADHD Anti-Anxiety Workshop. In less than an hour, I will teach you 3 ways to stop anxiety in its tracks. It's time to let go of the grip anxiety has on your happiness, and for you to step into the main character role of your everyday life. Cherry on top, it's free. For now. It will be a paid course shortly after, so sign up while there's still no charge. Head over to patriciasung.com/workshop and sign up for this event. Now, if it is after the event, still head over to that link. It'll have the information on how to get the workshop and see whatever new workshop I have coming for free. Again, that's patriciasung.com/workshop. It's time to say no to worrying. The workshop is taking place on January 23rd, that's a Thursday, at 11 a.m. Central, which is noon Eastern. So now that we've dug into some of the basics, not that basics of why we end up being angry, and I want you to have grace for yourself that it's okay to be angry, but we got to do something about it. One, we have to understand what are the things that trigger that anger, and then what are we going to do to get that anger out of us so that it is not coming out in a way that is hurting ourselves or others. so that we can create more capacity so that we don't hit that 100. Like when we hit 80, can we do something to get ourselves back to like 40 so that we have space to get through the rest of dinner and bedtime? How do we create that flexibility in the capacity to be able to deal with everything that's coming up throughout the day? Because we can't control most of what happens throughout the day, but we can control what we do with it. But we can't control what we do with it if we don't have the skills or we don't even know that that's what we're dealing with. We have to have the awareness and the skills to be able to deal with it. So how do we know? How can we tell we're getting angry? A lot of us with ADHD don't realize that we're getting upset. We didn't realize the 0 to 99. We only realized, oh no, I'm at 100. How can you tell when you're getting upset? Listen to yourself. When you're getting angry, how do you know that? Do you feel it in your body? Does your temperature change? Do you find yourself changing into fists? Like I can even feel like as I'm talking about anger, I'm like, oh wow, like I'm actually getting a little hyped up here. Whoa, probably need to do the techniques I'm going to tell you in a second I need to do now. But it's like, what are the ways that you know you're getting angry? Do your thoughts change? Like the way you think about things? Are your thoughts racing? Is it that there's too many and you can't keep up with them all? Like, what are the things that you notice that tell you I'm getting angry? Because we can't identify things that we don't know they exist, okay? So as you're going throughout the day, when you have identified this is what makes me angry, then you can notice throughout the day of like, oh wow, I keep finding myself with my shoulders up by my ears because I am stressed. That's a signal for me that I need to make more capacity because I'm not going to be able to get to bedtime before I hit 100 when I feel like this. So identifying those feelings in you that tell you you're getting angry. You can also identify, number 2, what are those things that you know are going to make you angry? What are your patterns? Do you get frustrated at a certain time of day? Do you get more angry if you haven't eaten lunch? What's that thing? The HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Also, a side note, I was on a podcast the other day. I was actually talking about anger with Laura over at ADHD AHA for Understood, and I totally made up the wrong words I said thirsty instead of tired. It was not. I was like, man, ADHD, man. But anyways, are you HALT when you get angry? Are you hungry, angry, lonely, tired? Can you do something about one of those things that's happening? Sometimes we can. Sometimes we can't. As parents, sometimes like, well, I don't have time to take a nap, but I can go grab a granola bar out of the cabinet. Do you tend to get angry at different parts of your cycle? Like, that is expected because hello hormones, hello inflammation, but when you know that those things are going to irritate you, when they start happening, your brain will be like, oh, it's that thing. And you can do something about it. During the week before your cycle, you can plan for less things to go on as much as you can. Hey, I'm not going to put 17 things on the calendar that week. Bump them to next week when I'm in my spring part of my cycle, when I actually want to talk to people. But you can plan for the things that you know are going to upset you when you realize they're going to upset you. When you know going to Thanksgiving at so-and-so's house, that person's going to make you angry, you know I'm just going to do my best to avoid the person. I'm going to tell my partner, if you see that person coming near me, you got to come rescue me. You can have a planned out for that conversation. So as soon as they start talking to you, you can do your polite, hello, it's so great to see you, and I'm out. Oh, got to go to the bathroom. Like whatever you need to do to plan ahead for that. Because those people, So even though we are going to have those kind of people in our lives, and it may be your own child today, we can prepare ourselves to deal with that. Because again, anger is a communication to us to know like, hey, something's going on here and I need to deal with it. You don't have to just sit there and be upset. The next thing we can do about being an angry person is just caring for our ADHD in general. Anything that you're doing to help your ADHD will help you with your emotional regulation and in dealing with all of those emotions, anger included. So if you're going to therapy, if you're taking medicine, if you're in coaching, all of those things will help you create capacity and create more flexibility to deal with what's going on in life. Another thing we can do with anger is learn some calming techniques. Now, there's going to be some that annoy you. Like whenever people tell me to like count breathing, I don't want to count anything when I'm mad. Don't tell me what to do. Don't give me more jobs to do when count. But there are breathing techniques that don't involve counting that I like very much. So for example, top up breaths. When I take a deep breath in, then you top it up just a little extra and then breathe out as slow as you can. That one doesn't involve any counting. But when we can regulate our breathing, it's not just the thing to roll your eyes at. You're actually telling your body like, hey, I'm safe. You're lowering your heart rate. You're lowering your breathing rate. And you're sending your body signals of like, hey, it's not World War III. I can in fact, be safe where I am. So it's not a bunch of hooey. And if you want, I have a free video download. It's 10 ways to calm down. I'm pretty sure it's patriciasung.com/calm. Wasn't planning on throwing that in here. So I'm hoping that was right. patriciasung.com/calm. I'm pretty sure. If not, I'll put it in the show notes. But you can learn these techniques to help you calm down in the moment. Because yes, we can prepare for the things and we can know what to do after the things. But in the moment, it's just like, I need something to calm down right now. These are techniques that you can use at the drop of a hat. Because the part that makes my heart hurt the most is that when we don't figure out how to deal with our anger, like we aren't the only ones who are hurt here. This is something that really affects our family. And like we already have enough guilt and shame piled on in the first place. Like when we start adding on more ourselves because of the way we spoke to our kid or the way we treated them, like this is why I do what I do. Because I don't want you to have to continue living like that. I want you to know that there is freedom to do something different and that you can learn the skills to be able to deal with the anger in a way that is healthy for both you and your kids. Because unfortunately, like I think the reason that, people with ADHD end up in prison more or have more drug issues and have addictions with gambling and drugs and alcohol and like whatever else is your coping mechanism of choice, it's because after the anger explosion, sitting there and dealing with all that doo-doo, I'm like, I don't think I put an expletive rating on this podcast episode. Sitting with all that crap is the reason that people go, and by people I mean like literally everybody, go and find escape in drugs and alcohol and gambling and like whatever other shenanigans you're up to. Ma'am, that is because we don't want to deal with the stress that's going on in our lives, which totally makes sense. I get it. And that doesn't mean that we want to be choosing that particular coping mechanism in that way. Actually, having a way to cope is a good thing. You want a coping mechanism. It's when that coping mechanism starts to be more of a hindrance than a help that then we have to look at it and go, well, crap, what am I going to do about this? I need a different coping mechanism. I need a different way of doing things because I don't want to be an alcoholic. I don't want to be using drugs. I don't want to be gambling away my savings. I don't want to be shopping impulsively. I don't want to be a perfectionist talking to myself this way. I don't want to be yelling at everyone. Like, we will all get to that point at some point to be like, I don't want to do this anymore. Sometimes we have to hit rock bottom in order to look for another solution. I hope you don't have to learn the hard way. Sometimes I've had to. Like, this is why I do what I do. This is why I coach. This is why I have this podcast, because I want you to know that there's another option available. You can learn how to deal with your anger in a way that doesn't involve something that's hurting you more than it's helping you, or something that is hurting your kids more than it's helping you. And I am not saying that to give you guilt or shame. I'm telling you that for like a wake-up call of like, you don't have to do it that way. You have the option to do something different. You can let go of that. You can find a way to deal with all the crap that builds up in life without harming yourself and harming your kids. It is possible. I'm living proof. I see it in my clients every day that you can learn to do things differently so that you don't have to be miserable. You don't have to be angry all the time. You don't have to be delving into your addiction of choice in order to not deal with what life is giving you right now. So please ask for help. If it's not with me, cool. But find a therapist, find another coach, find a friend to talk to. Go download all my free stuff if you can't do coaching. Like, do something to take care of you so that you can reduce your stress level down to the point where you have the capacity to do everything you need to do without being angry all the time. And when you know how to do this for yourself, you can then turn around and teach your kids how to do it too. Because I can't tell you how many times I'm yelling at my kids and they start yelling and I'm like, don't yell while I'm yelling. I can't teach them from a place where I don't have capacity. I can't. So if you find yourself in a place where anger seems to be running the show and not you, there is hope. You can figure out the things that trigger you. You can know what it is that's going on with you. Like, know yourself so well to know, like, I'm getting to the place where I don't have capacity. I need to do something to take care of myself so that I don't keep up these continual patterns of hurting the people around me or myself. And that you can have the capacity to do that. You can learn the skills to be able to do that. You can manage your ADHD to where you can actually live really well and be happy. It is possible. You can move from being an angry mom with a bad temper to being the kind of mom you want to show up as every day. We don't have to be perfect, but things can be different. I'll talk to you soon, Successful Mama. For more resources, classes, and community, head over to my website, motherhoodinadhd.com.